Okay, here's a confession, and I am only telling you this because I have been exactly where you are. The first time I ever wrote a song about something that actually happened to me, not a fictional story, not a made-up scenario, but a real event from my life, it felt like I had taken off all my armor and walked onto a stage. I sent the demo to a friend. He listened for about 30 seconds and said, "Did you write this about your ex?" And I just stood there because he was right. The uncomfortable part was not that he guessed it. The uncomfortable part was that I had been trying so hard to make the song feel universal that I had stripped away almost every detail that made it real. That is the paradox of writing lyrics from your own life. The more specific and personal the story is, the stronger the temptation becomes to sanitize it so it does not feel embarrassing. You change the details, you soften the line, you remove the thing that makes your stomach drop. And then somehow the song becomes safer and weaker at the same time. Today I want to show you how to write lyrics from a real story without feeling exposed, cringe, or like you are oversharing. This is not about putting your diary on display. It is about learning the exact craft moves that let personal experience become a song. Specific enough to feel true, protected enough to feel safe, and shaped enough that somebody else can hear their own life inside it. Technique 1 is the emotional truth filter. This is the most important idea in the whole video, and it is also the one writers misunderstand most often. The rule is simple. Write the emotional truth, not the factual truth. A song does not have to be a court transcript. It does not have to prove where you were, what day it was, what time the door closed, or what exact sentence someone said. A song has to make the listener feel what the moment meant. Think about the way people talk about deeply personal songs from artists like Taylor Swift or Adele. Listeners remember objects, rooms, phone calls, and gestures because those details seem to carry the emotional charge of the story. But the song is not powerful because every detail can be verified by a calendar. It is powerful because the emotional experience feels accurate. Remembering too much after something is gone, reaching out when it might be too late, wanting closure from someone who may never give it. That is the difference. Factual truth asks, did it happen exactly this way? Emotional truth asks, does this make the listener feel what it was like? The counterexample is a lyric that becomes a report. On this date, at this exact time, you left through this exact door, and I felt this exact pain. That might be true, but it is not automatically a song. Too many literal facts can create a wall between the listener and the emotion. The listener starts fact-checking. You start defending the memory. The lyric becomes evidence instead of art. Emotional truth gives you permission to change the facts that are not carrying the feeling. You can move the scene. You can combine two conversations. You can swap the object. You can remove the private name. If the feeling stays honest, the song can become more truthful by becoming less literal. Here is the exercise for the emotional truth filter. Pick a real event from your life that still has a strong emotional charge. Do not start by writing lyrics. Start by writing a private paragraph about what actually happened. Let it be messy. Let it be too literal. Let it include the details you would never put in a song. This page is just for you. Now, before you turn that paragraph into lyrics, change three things. Change the location to a different but emotionally similar place. Change the time of day. Change the name, gender, or identifying detail of the other person. Keep the emotional center exactly the same. If the real scene happened in a kitchen at midnight, maybe the song happens in a parking lot at sunrise. If the real person had a specific name, maybe the song only says you. If the argument had 10 factual details, maybe the lyric keeps only the feeling of standing there with your hands full and no good answer. This is not deception. This is craft. It protects the people involved, including you. It also frees you from trying to recreate the event perfectly. Once you are not trapped by the factual record, you can ask better songwriting questions. What version of this scene sings best? What image carries the feeling? What detail is safe to reveal and strong enough to hold the line? The test is simple. After you change the facts, does the emotional truth still feel intact? If yes, you are moving toward a song. If no, you changed something that was carrying the emotion. Put that part back, then keep shaping. Technique 2 is the cinema mind's eye method. The best songwriters do not just write about events, they write about scenes. That difference is huge. If you tell a friend the real story, you might say, I was at a coffee shop, someone walked in with somebody else, I froze, we saw each other, nobody knew what to say, and then I left. That is a timeline. It explains what happened. But a lyric usually needs one concentrated moment that the listener can witness. Instead of giving the listener a full sequence of events, you choose the frame where the emotion hit hardest. The cup shaking in someone's hand, the bell above the door, the empty chair, the phone face down on the table, the silence after a sentence nobody can take back. You are not telling the listener, this was awkward and painful. You are letting them stand inside the awkwardness. This is why chronological writing often makes personal songs feel flat. First this happened, then this happened, then this happened. Then I felt sad. That is a summary. A song is usually stronger when it picks one moment and lives there long enough for the emotion to appear through detail. Try this. Close your eyes and think about the real story. Do not think about the whole thing. Think about the 1 second when your body knew something had changed. Where were you? What was the light like? What object was closest to your hand? What sound was in the room? What did the other person do with their eyes, their jacket, their glass, their phone? What did you notice that nobody else would have noticed? Write those sensory details down. Those are not decorations. They are the lyric material. The listener does not need your entire history. The listener needs a scene vivid enough to feel like memory. Technique 3 is to make the song universal through specificity, not genericity. This is where almost every writer gets scared. You have a real story and you think, if I write the actual details, this will only resonate with me. So you generalize. You remove the strange object. You remove the exact room. You remove the embarrassing gesture. You write about love, pain, goodbye, heartbreak, moving on, feeling cold, and being lost. The problem is that those words are so broad, they give the listener nothing to hold. A song can be technically about anyone and emotionally about nobody. Specificity works the other way. When you describe one true, concrete detail, the listener does not need to have lived your exact situation. They only need to recognize the feeling inside it. Maybe they have never watched someone they loved move on, but they know what it feels like to be left behind. Maybe they have never had your exact conversation, but they know the silence after someone says the thing that cannot be unsaid. The specific detail becomes a doorway into a universal feeling. That is why generic breakup language often feels weaker than one small image. A coffee ring on a table can carry more sadness than the word sadness. A jacket left on a chair can say more than a paragraph of explanation. Your job is not to make the situation generic enough for everyone. Your job is to make one moment vivid enough that the emotion becomes undeniable. Here is the exercise. Pick a universal emotion: love, loss, joy, regret, fear, relief. Then write about the most specific moment when you felt it. Do not try to be relatable yet. Write the receipt in your hand, the street light, the wrong song playing, the shoes by the door, the text you did not answer. Trust the specific. The listener will translate it into their own life. Technique 4 is the time-distance rule. This one is practical, and it can save you from writing songs that are really just emergency messages with chords under them. Do not rush to write the final version of something that happened yesterday. I know that sounds counterintuitive, because when something is fresh, the emotion feels powerful, but fresh emotion is often not shaped yet. You may be writing from the wound instead of from the memory. That can create a rant, a plea, or a diary entry. Sometimes you need those pages. Write them privately. Record the voice memo. Get the feeling out of your body, but do not assume the first raw version is the song. A song usually needs perspective. Distance lets you see what the event meant, not only how it hurt. And distance does not always mean years. Sometimes it means weeks. Sometimes it means waiting until the story has stopped changing every time you tell it. Sometimes it means writing about what you remember instead of what happened. Memory is already editing. Memory keeps strange details and drops others. It turns a story into symbols before you consciously choose them. If the event happened less than 6 months ago, try this. Do not write, what happened. Write what I keep remembering. The warm side of the bed, the unanswered phone, the joke that suddenly does not feel funny, the quiet car ride home, the way a normal room looked different after one sentence. Those fragments often make better lyrics than the full timeline. They give you enough distance to craft without losing the pulse. Writing from distance does not make the song less honest. It often makes the honesty clearer because you can finally tell the difference between the feeling that matters and the details that only mattered because the pain was fresh. Technique 5 is the protected truth framework. This is the technique that lets you write about real things without feeling like you have betrayed yourself or someone else. Write about the truth you feel safe revealing, not the biggest secret, not the detail that would embarrass your family, not the private fact that only matters because it would make people gossip. Write the truth you are ready to tell on your terms. There is a difference between emotional honesty and exposure. Emotional honesty says, this is what it felt like to be left behind. Exposure says, here's the person's name, the exact place, and the private detail that proves it. One creates art, the other can turn the song into drama with a short shelf life. Before you write, ask 2 questions. What would I be comfortable having the person in the song hear? What would I be comfortable having someone I respect read? Those questions are not meant to make the song weaker. They make it smarter. Constraints force creativity. If you cannot use the name, you need an image. If you cannot reveal the private fact, you need a scene. If you cannot explain the whole backstory, you need one line that carries the emotional truth. Protected truth also helps with fear. A lot of writers avoid personal songs because they assume honesty means total exposure. It does not. You can write the ache without publishing the address. You can write the regret without naming the person. You can write the loneliness without turning someone else's private life into content. The strongest personal songs often feel open because the emotion is clear and safe because the private facts have been transformed. That is the sweet spot. So let us recap the 5 techniques for writing lyrics from a real story. 1. Write the emotional truth, not the factual truth. The feeling matters more than the literal record. 2. Use the cinema mind's eye method. Pick one scene, not the whole timeline, and make the listener see it. 3. Make it universal through specificity, not genericity. Do not sand the lyric down until it could belong to anybody. Give us one real object, one gesture, one detail with heat in it. 4. Use the time-distance rule. If the event is too fresh, write from memory and perspective instead of writing directly from the wound. 5. Use the protected truth framework. Share the part you are ready to share and protect the private facts that do not need to become public for the song to work. I know writing from real life can feel scary. You may worry someone will recognize themselves. You may worry the song will sound too vulnerable. You may worry that the moment you write it down, people will know too much. But the songs that last are usually the ones with some truth in them. Not raw truth dumped on the floor. Crafted truth. Protected truth. Truth shaped into a scene, a line, a melody, and a feeling another person can carry. So start with one scene from your life. Change the facts that need changing. Keep the emotion honest. Then write it smart. If this helped, subscribe for more songwriting craft videos and leave a comment with the scene you're starting from. The room, the object, or the moment where the feeling hit hardest.